Welcome back to the Speaking and Communicating podcast. I am Roberta, your host, and today I am joined by Clarissa Burt. She is the CEO and founder of a multimedia platform company, which she will talk more about as we go on. And most recently, she authored a book, The Self-Esteem Regime. Now, you and I will both agree that self-esteem is the one thing that we always need to constantly water, nourish in order for it to grow. So
Yes.
before I go any further, please help me welcome Clarissa. Hi, Clarissa.
Hi, how are you? So
Um,
glad to see you. And we're doing this on a Saturday. We must be very dedicated, Roberta. We
I
must
will
be.
be honest with you. Every time I send people my calendar, they either book a weekday morning or evening. You're the first Saturday person. I'm not kidding. You're
Really?
the first
Oh, that's funny.
Saturday
Oh,
person.
that's so funny because I've been working all morning. Well, here it's 3 o'clock now, but I've been working all morning at the National Publicity Summit, which is another event that I show up for as press. But anyway, so that was about 3.5 hours. So I knew I'd be ready for you today, and here we are. But yes, you are absolutely right that self-esteem is extremely important. I knew as a young girl actually that I was able to see even on the playground that there were issues already brewing with bullying and people, the kids weren't treating each other well, and it always broke my heart. I always would go and play with the with the bullied person because I just didn't want them to feel so sad. And then, my mother was always a beautiful woman, but oh, don't take my picture because I don't come out good in pictures and I'm, fat and all of that. And she's not, she's gorgeous. My grandmother thought she needed to lose weight and she didn't. So she took 2 diet pills one day that perforated her esophagus as she choked on them. She wound up in the hospital for 6 weeks, and I thought, well, that was kind of silly. I mean, why would you do something like that when you're so lovely? Then it was when I was modeling many years ago. There were girls that were absolutely beautiful, just gorgeous creatures who were either, doing drugs or in toxic relationships, or they would speak poorly about themselves. And I thought, gee, there's a common denominator here. And I think it's the lack of happy, healthy self-esteem. So when COVID hit, it was really kind of the moment that, I could really focus on getting this project done. I've been wanting to write the book for a long time. And I think it came out in the perfect time because I think we need to be talking about self-esteem after these COVID years. COVID brought with it the sense of loss, or not even a sense. It brought with it a lot of
Actual
losses:
loss. Yeah.
loss of hope, loss of faith, loss of friends, loss of family, loss of money, loss of jobs, loss of stability, loss of our individuality. Like, who are we now? And with the craziness going on in the world, every turn there seems to be another crazy happening, and so it's destabilizing. And
Mm.
I think that, reading a book like mine called The Self-Esteem Regime, it is an action plan for becoming the confident person that you're meant to be. We start the first chapter with release. Just release. What do you need to hold on to that you know, and what do you need to unlearn? Where are the things that you brought forward from the natal tribe, from your schooling, your education, from your faith, your pastors, your priests and whatever that may not serve you now? Where are you going to be tomorrow, and who do you want to be tomorrow? Well, without a very strong sense of self-esteem and who you truly are and where you truly want to be and the work that you will have to do to get there, you're going to remain stuck. And it's going to be some of this can be a very difficult process. I'm not going to lie. Some of it can be a very lonely process as you're going through this, but only you can do the work. This is nothing that anyone else can help you with.
Mm.
So I'm very passionate about up leveling and raising, if you will, the consciousness, especially of women all over the world that think they are less than. They're a child of a lesser God, and it's not true. So I'm here to be a very, very loud voice, hopefully, when it comes to my book. It is a resource more than it is a read, which is important to know because you can read this today and get one thing out of it.
And
Then you
put
read
it
it
on
six
the
months.
shelf and does, yes.
And in 6 months, you can read it again and say, gosh, I didn't see that the first time. Well, you weren't ready. You didn't resonate. Your energy was
Mm.
not ready for that lesson. And so this is the kind of book you will read for a lifetime.
Right. So going back to, we're not going to mention names, obviously, but going back to who we usually admire and see on TV and in the media as, oh, supermodel, beautiful. They look like they have everything going for them. And then you go to Twitter and they are depressed and bulimic. And what is it? Because I think that we just want to start breaking down what is it about self-esteem and what actually nourishes it, because it seems like some of the things we thought increase it, we've been misguided on.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is that you have to understand that nobody is perfect, that everyone on the planet, no matter what you see, no matter what you perceive, no matter what they are projecting, is is living in some sort of somewhere some difficulty. I really don't think that there is anyone on the planet that doesn't have what I call my daily demons. They
Mm.
come and they want to get in your ear, and they'll say something like, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not young enough, you're not old enough, you're not thin enough, you're not rich enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough. All the stuff that we battle with, I'm not going to say on a daily basis, but frequently.
Yeah.
It's your job to catch these voices. It's your job to stop the crazy madness. It's your job to recognize it and to put it back in its proper box and back up on the shelf. This doesn't serve you. Put it way back on the shelf. Let it get really dusty, because this doesn't serve you anymore. These aren't the kind of things that we want to be using as tools, as tips, as resources, as what I love to use, affirmations. I mean, people say, oh, affirmations, whatever. I mean, yeah, you can,
Sounds
yeah.
like a cult.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. They're
That's what
extremely
they say. I love affirmations. I do them every day. But yeah,
every day.
some people say, oh, this thing of yours, Roberta, sounds like a
Yeah,
cult.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And people will want to do that. You know, the subconscious, you got to be careful what you tell your subconscious,
Hmm.
because it believes you. Your
It
subconscious
doesn't
believes
argue.
what you
Hmm.
tell it. And if you continue to listen to this and
Sigmund
not
Freud.
ask it and say, look, there's no room for you today. You've got to go. Please don't come back. I'm really working on myself, and I do want to be my best, the best version of me. I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. I want to stand strong in my stead, because life is going to throw at me triggering moments. It's going to throw at me storms and tornadoes, as hurricanes are going to come through. Relationships, work, jobs, money, all kinds of things will worry us and will trigger us. Well, if we have strong roots, right, just like a tree, when those storms come through, we may lose some leaves, we may even lose a couple of branches, but we didn't get uprooted with the storm. We're still standing there strong and proud, waiting for the sun to come back out to warm our limbs so that we can continue to grow. And this is the same exact thing that I say: when your self esteem is not in check, when your feet hit the ground in the morning, you're going to have difficulty with yourself, the relationship with self, and certainly the relationship with others.
And
So,
starting at the beginning, what do you think? Because like you were talking about all the bills and everything we have to take care of. Obviously, we don't take the time to even check what we're thinking. I have a friend who calls that voice Sigmund Fraud, meaning you're a liar. Stop it.
Sigmund
Um,
Freud is cute.
we
That's cute.
yeah, we don't even take the time to check Sigmund Freud if what he's telling you is true,
That's really
or
cute.
and how it affects us, because we're in a rush. Everything, we have too many things on our hands that we have to take care of. So what
Yeah.
can we do to just make a little bit of time to check and say, wait a minute,
Yeah.
is this correct?
Yeah.
Is this
Well,
true about me?
first of all, good on you for recognizing it. Second of all, one of the things that I really talk about in the book is taking the time for self-care. And people go, ah, self-care, okay, everybody's talking. Yeah, well, but everybody's talking about it because it's
Mm.
pretty important stuff. You know, I mean, oh, I'd have no time. Well, I'll tell you, if you have time to go out with, the girls for dinner, if you have time for your children, if you have time to make your haircut appointment, if you have time for your mani pedi, if you have time, for the dentist, you have time for self-care. You must put it into your calendar, much like you would any other appointment. And you must respect that appointment just like you would the doctor's appointment, the mani-pedi appointment, and any other appointment that you make. Every Saturday, I don't know, I'm making it up, from 8 to 10. That is my time. Nobody touches it. My husband's taking the kids out or whatever. You have to plan what that means. And this is when I am going to take a hot soaky bath, put in some Epsom salts. I'm going to put on a beautiful mask. It's going to be beautiful chill music. I'm going to do my nails. I must shampoo my hair. I'm going to meditate. Whatever that is for you is what you need to be doing. And making sure that that time is a commitment to yourself, much like you commit to everyone else. Don't put yourself last, ever. You must put yourself first, just like they say on the airlines with oxygen. You can't help anybody else
Until you
at
put it
all
on your nose first. You
until
touched
you
on a very, I'd say, muddy waters when it comes to mothers of children. I don't
yeah,
have kids, so I tread very carefully when
right.
it comes to those subjects, because
Yeah,
a lot of the time they feel like we don't understand when we even suggest that they
I know.
just take a little bit, even 10 minutes of your time to put
But you know
yourself
what?
first. And
Here's the deal.
yeah.
There are babysitters, and if you can't afford a babysitter, if you don't have a husband, then what I suggest is that you trade time with another mother. You've got mothers groups, you meet the other mothers in school, there are ladies in the neighborhood. There must be someone that you say, listen, I'll take the first Saturday of the month, and you take my kids. You get the second Saturday of the month, I take your kids. So we create the play dates in order for you to have that. Look, I'm not here to tell you how to run your life. I'm here to suggest that there are other ways that you can, that you can actually create a way, find the way. There's always a solution. If you want to sit back and say, oh, but I can't because well, what are the proper questions you should be asking? Maybe it's God or universe or whatever, whomever you want to interact with. What is it that I need? What are the questions I need to ask the proper questions I need to ask in order to get a solution to this? I don't want to call it a problem because it wouldn't be a problem, but to this conundrum or to this query that I
Right.
have. And so you'll get an answer. It's not a lot of things. I think we get in our own way a lot because we want to complicate things that really are not that complicated. Yes, other things are very complicated. I'll give you that. But, finding a few hours for yourself during the week, probably I'm going to suggest is something you probably can work out.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to self-esteem, I remember I'm in my 40s now, and I wish we had learned this at school, or somebody had told us that we used to think that only the smart kids will succeed and become the millionaires and heads of companies. But as I grew old and entered the corporate world, I realized that it's not the person who got A's that was climbing the corporate ladder or was the most successful, but the ones who were just more confident and taking more chances and suggesting their ideas to management, because there's a certain level of, this is where the academics stop and this is where your confidence kicks in,
Yeah. I think the
in the way
greatest
you
words
carry
here
yourself and present yourself.
I think that some of the greatest words here are, yeah, it's great to be smart, but I really think that the next words that come in line are the ones that were willing to take the risk, the ones that had the courage, the ones that got up and went, wow, okay, like myself, I got up and I moved on the other side of the world when I was 20 years old. And I had nothing. I didn't know the language. I was with no family. I had no friends. And I continued to forge on. I did it again some later years when I moved from Paris to Italy. And I
Mm-hmm.
did it again. But I learned the language and I made friends. So, the absolute belief in yourself, if you want it, you will work for it. And make no mistake when I say that, that self-esteem, the work that you will do in my book,
Mm-hmm.
is not play. It's called work for a reason. I call it a manual. It's really for me it's a manual, it's a mission, and it's a movement. If we could raise the self-esteem, the consciousness, the confidence, the self-awareness of all, sentient beings, wouldn't then we be living in a much more beautiful world, a much more peaceful world, a place where there was so much less fear and a lot more love? Well, this is what I offer with self-esteem, with your own self-esteem. When you live in less fear and you live in more love, and sometimes, remember, when I say this, people say, "Ah, yeah, she's just," I get it. Hold on. Some people come into your life for a reason. Some people come into your life for a season,
Mm,
and some people come into your life for a lifetime.
mm.
So not everything is meant to last forever. Okay?
Wonderful.
That in itself is just a huge lesson. That should be its own chapter, and as I write my second book, it most likely will be.
Mhm.
So remembering that the lessons that you are learning on a daily basis are the ones that you need to hold very, very dear and very near. Remember also to set up your boundaries. Say, what is it? Well, what do you have to do to have self? Your boundaries are going to be some of your greatest power plays for your own sense of worth. You know, when you start to say to people, it's not okay, thanks, but I won't be treated that way. And either they'll have a conversation with you and apologize because they want to have you in their lives, or they're going to get angry and they're going to huff off. And, you know, so you've got also to be able to love yourself more in certain occasions, more than you love someone else.
Because
And
you
that
teach them how to treat you, how to act in your life.
That is exactly right. Now, that
Mm.
is not narcissism and that is not one-sided. But what, yeah, people say, yeah, well, it's not all about you. Well, it's okay. And I agree with that. But when it starts to feel yucky, when it starts to hurt, when, you know, well, I always say, if it hurts, it's not love.
Mm-mm.
Right? So at what point do you draw your line in the sand and say, with all the love in my heart, with all the respect that I have for you, I will offer that. I will not be yelled at. I don't want to. This is how it makes me feel. And I hope that you accept that. And if not, you know, next, and it's a horrible, it feels really yucky, let me use the word again, to let someone go in that way. But I'll tell you, when you start to live in what is real for you, what is true for you, and what feels good for you, you know, we were not put here to be anyone's doormat,
No,
right?
no.
We were not put here to live in shame or guilt. I'm sorry, I won't do it. We all deserve to live in a peaceful home. We all deserve to be loved and we all deserve to be respected.
You
What
know,
about
when you
this?
talk about how people sometimes you let them go, it brings me to the idea of they get used to you being a certain way, but when you start doing the work in your book and you
Yes,
start growing as a
yes.
person and you have boundaries, usually they will criticize you, but I think that's when it's about them.
Mhm.
It's not about the fact that you're not doing something right, but they
Yeah,
just got accustomed to you being a doormat.
yeah.
And now they
Well,
suddenly you know how to deal with this new person.
I think they got used to the way they indoctrinated you or the way they taught you. So let's go back to mom and dad and family, the tribe, the natal tribe, I call it.
Mhm.
And, you know, just the idea that, you know, they have taught you to a certain extent. And again, I talked about your education and that has taught you other things.
Right.
Your faith has taught you other things. When you're out, you know, as you're growing, you're sort of sometimes just scratch your head and go, I don't know if does that resonate with me? Does that fit? Is that who I am? And as you grow, people are going to what I call they fall away. It doesn't mean you never see them again. You're still going to go home for Christmas dinner. You might be at the Thanksgiving table. You'll be calling and FaceTiming, all of that. But at a certain point, as you grow and you go back, you will have to love them where they're at.
Mhm.
You do not have to regress. You do not have to fall back into and onto what was comfortable for you. Because as you go back, it's comfortable there. You know, it's kind of like,
Familiar.
right? It's family, it's warm, it's cuddly, it's for the most part. Some families are not, but I suggest that as you move on and you grow, you start to make your own rules, your own boundaries, your own standards, right? Your own
Mhm.
what you will and will not accept as your truth as what resonates, as what feels right and real to you.
Right.
Yes, people are going to get offended. They're going to get their nose out of joint. They're going to be angry. And again, remember that standing firm in your stead as that hurricane floats by again. But, you might have lost a couple again. Here go a couple of my leaves. But I have not been uprooted. I didn't fall back into whatever the dynamic is, the yelling, the screaming, the name calling, the bullying, the whatever it was, whatever it is. It doesn't feel good. And it didn't feel good when they did it to you. And you need to be the bigger person to stop what we call stop the sickness, stop the illness, stop the injustice, and make the change so that as you are now teaching and preaching and indoctrinating others as you move on, you're not passing on the disease,
The
the
previous trauma.
disease.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's when the grown-ups, because we usually think of bullying as happening in school, but as grown-ups, we are bullies in some
Yeah,
way
yeah,
when we
can
continue
do.
those trends in dealing
Yeah,
with others.
yeah,
They usually say that you are the product of the five um, closest people you surround yourself with. If
yeah,
you want to keep your self-esteem healthy or increase it,
yeah.
what kind of people should you be surrounding yourself
You
with?
know what? I love that question too because we talk about it in the book, and that is the support groups. The people that you will actually choose. Couldn't choose the people that you were born, the family you were born into. And again, we love our families. We couldn't
Mm,
choose our schooling and who was going to be our teacher. We can't choose the pastor or the preacher, whatever it, a priest, because that's the church down the street. Whatever the reasons are, we can now, as we go out, start to form and formulate our own core groups. And they may be people, I have people that have been in my life since, elementary school, and I still am in touch with people that, I grew up with along the way. I may not see them or speak to them as much as I used to, but I know that I can call them at any time and I will have their full on support. And they have mine as well. So the people that, and you might only have a handful of these kind of people in a lifetime. I wish you more, but if you
mm,
can find someone that can support you and love you no matter where you are, no matter what where you're at, no matter how horrible you've been, no matter how horrible what you're going through, and they're there, pick up the phone every time you call because you may need to cry, or you may need to vent, or you may need to rant and rave, whatever it is, they are there to support you and to give you love. And you will do the same for them. Those are the people
yeah.
that you want to hold very, very, very near and very dear.
Mm. And surround yourself with.
You get to choose them. You get
Hmm.
to choose them. That's the good news.
Yeah. So starting today, if we haven't got hold of the book yet, and you will give us more details on how we can get ourselves a copy. Starting
Yeah.
today, what is the first thing that we need to check besides the voice? Is there anything else we need to just check, be aware of, and keep in check that might always be, pecking at our self-esteem?
Well, the first thing is, again, I call it self-esteem 101. And this is that stop comparing yourself. And I know it sounds, I know, oh God, Clarissa, don't say that because everybody says that. And it's so
I
true.
agree. I agree.
Stop doing it because it's human nature. We all do it. Social media is really it's distorting people's images of themselves because the perception from social media is something, a lot of it is not real, and especially with the advent of Photoshop. That was the beginning of the end, and Photoshop's been out for 25 years now. So the idea that we could take a face and completely, transfix it, or make it completely different, because you could, make it, no lines, no wrinkles, none of this, and
Look like 20 years
media,
ago.
social media, all of that has done not good things especially for our young girls, and for women that just don't want to age gracefully. Now, I will admit, I put some cream on my face, and I, freak out if I see it. We all do. I suppose it's a little bit normal. It's a little bit vain. Okay, whatever it is. But we have to be very mindful and careful that what we think we see and what we think we perceive on social media many times is not real. It's not truth. So we have to be
More
very.
so on the point of that, I see the Photoshop and the makeup part, but people would go to the most expensive restaurant, take a picture, post it on social media, and then some would think that that's their daily life. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's a perception of reality.
Yeah.
Or they'll go on one nice vacation. Sometimes they don't even go on the vacation, just Photoshop, as you say, their face on the Maldives resort. And you think that's where they always live. They've never been there. And yeah, social media has just brought on this competing with others
Yeah.
to a whole new
Yeah,
level.
it's a complete and total distortion of reality. So be really, really careful with that. I
Mm.
think we have to be teaching, our young girls that, you don't need to be getting Botox at 16. You don't need breast implants when you're 15. Look, I can go down a rabbit hole here, and I don't mean to. I'm just saying we need to be teaching our girls that they are fine just the way they are. That they are lucky that they get to be them. Oh, you are so lucky you get to be you. Because in
Uniquely.
whatever you believe, whether it believe God or Buddha or Krishna or divine source, universe, whatever it is that you want you claim as your higher power, they knew exactly what they were doing when they created you.
Mhm.
You don't get much say in that. And as you want to continue to alter yourself and not honor yourself for exactly who you are, that's kind of unkind to them. It's not really cool to be going, universe, yeah, kind of messed up here. That's not what you want to be doing. You want to be saying, thank you, universe, I get to be me. And I've got a slate or a piece of chalk, and I can make my life anything I want it to be. I'm not saying that you should. Yes, we all like to look nice. Don't get me wrong.
Nothing
Um,
wrong with that. We work on it
no,
every
it's
day.
beautiful.
Nothing wrong
You
with
know,
that. It's part of
the
that self-care routine you were talking about as well.
Yes. My
Mm.
4 pillars of self-esteem are look good, feel good, be good, and greater good.
Hmm.
So we all we have a lilt in our step when we're walking out the door, and we're feeling ourselves. We're feeling pretty good. But there's so much more to it than that. Is self-esteem something that is hanging in your closet? Is it parked in your garage? These are not the kind of things that self-esteem is. Self-esteem is who you are, what you are, who are you when no one else is in the room?
Nuances
Who are
different.
you when no one
Hmm.
else is in the room? Another thing, and I'll leave you with this, is when we're running around saying, I am enough, you are enough, and I am enough. Well, enough is only as much as is required. Only as much as is required.
Required.
Now, listen, we got to be really careful with that wording because that's not serving us. I know I'm a hell of a lot more than as is required, and I think you are too, Roberta. I think every woman, every man,
Never had
every
that
being.
perspective before. Wow.
Yep. It's only as much as is required. So you know what? I'm going to be just as much as is required by whom, first off? Required by.
What standard am I working with?
Yes. By what standards? By whose standards? So very, very good. Absolutely. So we have to be careful of that. Stop apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry I'm late. Oh, no, don't be sorry you're late. Just say, oh gosh, thanks everybody for waiting. It's the way you
That's a
present
big one,
yourself. Yeah, you're running
especially
late.
for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for waiting. Not, oh, I'm
Wouldn't
so
that
sorry.
sound arrogant or cocky, or she's wrong for being late and yet she doesn't even apologize? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, listen, I think thank you is just as is even more powerful than I'm sorry. Because you're acknowledging with thanks, you're acknowledging with someone. Being sorry is diminishing of yourself. And it might have been something that you had absolutely no control over, being late.
Mm.
It's probably not who
Life
you are.
happens. Life does
Yeah,
happen. Yeah.
exactly. The other thing that I really like to leave everybody with is again, when I was saying, who are you when nobody else is in the room? And this is one that I absolutely adore. As you're going through, your path of life and the people that you are, those five, count on your one hand kind of people you go through life with,
Mm, mm.
is loyalty is when you have someone's back behind their back.
Someone's back
Loyalty is
behind.
when I have your back behind your back. When you're not there, and others are maybe speaking about you, I defend you, and or I just walk away, and in other words, whatever you don't become a gossip because someone
Right.
else might be trashing you. And
We
this is
used to
and this
say,
is
Mm.
Yeah, and these are the kinds of things that take backbone, and self-esteem is also a lot of backbone. Remember when I
Yeah.
told you some of these things are going to be uncomfortable. So when you stand in that group of girls that's talking bad about your friend, can you say, you know what? I don't think you know Jane the way I know Jane. I think
Mhm.
Jane is awesome, and I'm sorry, I don't agree with what you're all saying, and turn around and walk away.
We
Or are
used
you
to
gonna
say,
or are you gonna just stand there and be quiet? Or are you gonna stand there and join in? So
exactly. We used to
I
say, if you came to me and you said, Roberta, Jane was saying this about you, instead of me hating Jane, I used to say, what did you say
yeah,
in return?
yeah. What did you say? And there you go, to my point. So
Yeah.
self-esteem is many things. The book, you asked me where we can find it. It's in Amazon, obviously Amazon. It's actually in Barnes and Noble, so you can find it in the Barnes and Noble stores.
Right.
And it was published by Rowman and Littlefield in New York City, and there it is. I'm very proud. I've got
Mm.
people telling me that this book is changing their life,
It
and
sounds like
that
it is.
it
Yes.
really is. It's so extraordinary. I'm so proud of my book, and I hope you get to read it soon too.
I will. I'm gonna get hold of it. Just one more question before you go, Clarissa. Why do you think, speaking of doing good, when you mentioned the four pillars, why do you think that people who do good are not as advertised as the scandalous ones in
Oh,
the
it's so
media?
funny you should say that. Yeah, it's like being famous or infamous.
Oh,
I don't know that that's true. I think that, so the last pillar being, the greater good is what are you doing for the greater good? A lot of people think it's like, oh, you've got to do these huge, big, broad stroke things. And sometimes it's nothing more than holding the elevator door for someone. They're struggling to get there, or helping an old lady across the street,
mm,
helping a mother down the stairs with a carriage, a
right.
baby carriage, or opening a car door, whatever it is. There are some of the most simple, those manners, the manners that I was taught as a young girl. Are we still getting up for people that are elderly in public transportation? Are we offering our seat to the pregnant woman anywhere we are? Being mindful that it's not only us, we are not the only person on the planet, and other people, we know what it means to go through difficult times. A lot of people are going through difficult times now. The country is very divided, and that is a very unstable place to be. The economy is very up and down and unstable and all over that is very destabilizing for people. We're going through, the gas, all of that. It's all destabilizing, and it makes people worry and stay up at night, especially those that are bringing up children, I would offer, or the elderly that, may not be able to afford. So it's up to us, the people that are stronger and have the know-withal, the wherewithal, and the ability to be able to help, to do even the littlest things. Remember your manners, be kind. Sometimes it's a smile, and sometimes it's just, gee, you look real nice today, or wow, I really like that top. I do this all the time, and I'm not saying that
Mm,
it doesn't make me perfect. It doesn't make me,
no.
it just
And a
makes,
little act of kindness goes a long way.
well,
People
I'll tell you
remember
what it
that.
does. It puts a boost in you. When you've done something, it's going to that helps someone and makes them feel better, makes their life easier. I'm telling you, that is one of the greatest self-esteem moments. You just, because it comes back as a reflection on you, and you feel kind of proud about yourself. You're kind of feeling good about yourself again.
That's right.
What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? There's not a darn thing wrong with it.
It costs
So
no money.
do what you can when you can, and don't forget that, that other people are struggling, and that
Hmm.
sometimes just your smile and a kind word might be the only thing they need in that moment.
Clarissa, this has been so wonderful. You've shared some amazing nuggets with us. And before you go, thank you for your time today. Before you go, what is your website?
It's clarissaburt.com. Yeah, you go to
ClarissaBurt.com.
clarissaburt.com. You can find me everywhere on social. It's
Mhm.
Clarissa Burt. Facebook is Clarissa Burt Official.
Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing. Everybody, the book is on Amazon, The Self-Esteem Regime by Clarissa Burt. Thank you so much for being here
Thanks,
today.
Roberta. Thank you so much.
Okay.